To sum up parenthood in just 3 words, I would say happiness, busyness, and just love.
Yeah, I think for me, summing up parenthood in 3 words would be heartwarming, funny, and chaos.
Especially twins. Our 2 little girls, we have Amelia and Georgie. Their personalities, Amelia is our absolute comedian. She is hilarious in everything she does, and her facial expressions are amazing. And Georgie, she's our little sweet, observant one. She watches everything, notices everything. They're both absolute rays of sunshine. We learnt that Georgie, who was our twin bee, had a heart condition at our 26-week scan. So the scans that we had during our pregnancy, with it being high risk with twins, was every fortnight, and it was just during a routine scan with our sonographer, Jasmine, who we'd seen many times before. She said to us, something doesn't look quite right with the heart of twin B. I just want to ask the fetal medicine doctor. So Dr. Shinkoda came in and he did a scan himself. And he also said, I'm just not quite sure about this. I would like to refer you to a cardiologist to do an echo, another ultrasound, to check the heart, because it looks like there might be a little bit of a hole in the heart with a bit of override of the vessel, so it just didn't quite look normal. Within a couple of weeks, we were in with the cardiologist, and they confirmed that there was a moderate to large size hole in Georgie's heart with the vessel override.
I think for us, I suppose we were pretty gutted. Georgie already had a marginal cord insertion, so she was a little bit smaller anyway, and we were kind of, I guess, at the point where it was just like, oh, will this kid get a break? Will we get a break? But then once we processed it, and we started talking to the cardiologists, we were actually quite thankful we found out so early. We were prepared, and we could,
It's a lot to think about at that time, but we were so grateful that we found out during pregnancy at these routine scans that this is what we were looking down the barrel of, because I think it would have been so much harder if we had have had our babies born after this long pregnancy, then in the special care nursery, and then we got home and then Georgie started to, suffer the symptoms of her heart condition, and we found out then and were not as prepared. We couldn't believe that such a small thing, like this is millimeters that we're talking about, was picked up on a routine scan to then be referred early, to then find out months in advance. So we had all this mental time to prepare for when Georgie was born, what we needed to have there, and then what we needed to prepare for in surgery. So we were really grateful for that, and it made it a lot easier for us. So the cardiac condition that Georgie actually had was called moderate to large size VSD, which is a ventricular septal defect. So essentially it's a moderate to large size hole in the heart. So the heart has 4 different chambers, and there are 2 large chambers down the bottom. So basically where it forms and closes off each, there was a hole in the middle, so the blood was flowing from one side to the other. One of the sides is supposed to have oxygenated blood, and the other side blood with less oxygen in it, and essentially Georgie's was flowing in and out of the same chambers, so her body was getting less oxygen than ours would typically, and also her lungs were getting flooded with more oxygenated blood than they should be as well. Basically they'd said small holes can close themselves, and it's fairly common for little babies to have smaller size holes that can repair themselves, but in Georgie's case it was moderate to large, and that would require surgery where they would patch it up, and it would then essentially stop the blood from mixing. In terms of surgery, it was quite an emotional journey for us leading up to it. As you can imagine, handing over your 4.5-month-old, 4.5 kilogram baby for this major cardiac surgery was a lot, but we knew if we didn't, then she was going to get worse, like she could potentially get sicker and have a bit of heart failure. So it kind of pushed us to feel better about the whole thing, and we put a huge trust in the cardiac surgical team to support her with that as well, and they were fantastic.
Seeing Georgie leading up to the surgery kind of helped us with the process of the surgery, because she was becoming more and more tired. She couldn't feed as well, just because she was just so tired. She then had to have a nasal gastric tube put in to keep the weight going on and to get the feeds in. So we were kind of accepting of the surgery, but it didn't make it any easier. For me personally, it was the ICU phase that was the hardest phase, just because Georgie is usually, happy, bubbly. She's a smiley kid, And those first couple of days in ICU, she wasn't. Even when she came round, she would, there was no evidence of Georgie in there. So it took us a while. After sort of a few days, after a few days, she started smiling again, and Georgie came back.
Yeah. So we got to the ward, and the doctor's words were, "This is an exceptionally well baby." And within a few days, she went home, and it's been happy days since. It's been amazing. So yeah, it was a really tough surgical journey, but it was worth it. And now we have a normal baby who now just needs checkups just irregularly once a year, and she should live a normal life now that they've patched up the hole.
Hard not to get caught in the moment of just preparing for surgery. Just remember to enjoy the lead up to surgery and enjoy the time with what I did with Georgie.
Yeah. Trying not to get too ahead of yourself. Bite-sized pieces is what we had to do, because it felt like such a long pregnancy with all the regular scans that we had with twins, and then with Georgie's growth restriction, and then also with the CARP condition. So just navigating little things as they came and enjoying all of the moments along that way, not just focusing on, we've got this surgery that's coming in 4 months, and feeling really overwhelmed by that, because then you miss all of those happy little moments with your newborn baby. So yeah, just remaining informed and speaking to all the right people so that you feel happy as you go.